Alright, welcome back. Gonna start a build on this Skymaster 1/6 Scale F-18. Hard to get motivated on it because I've got to leave in March, and for a rotation in Germany. So it's hard to get going, get motivated, and then when all the problems I've had or found with it, it just kind of killed the motivation. But it was a nice day outside finally, so I figured I'd get out of the house, a little bit of cabin fever, and come out and do a video, give you a rundown. And like I said, I'll put all the stuff on my Facebook page, and then I'll do a build thread on RC Universe. Got to repaint it. I went ahead and ordered some tailor-made decals and paint mask to actually get, because it's one of those schemes that if you don't have the decals correct, it doesn't look right. Plus, if you don't get the colors right, it doesn't look right. So I'm going to have to tweak one color. The medium brown is just not right. Even with the correct FS code paint, it's still too dark. It doesn't look right. So I'm going to have to find a substitute for that. Excuse me. And the only reason why I'm really repainting it is because the clear coat's so bad. It's very milky. I guess they did it when it was cold and or damp, and it basically hazed. It looks like the jet's been sitting collecting dust for a year. So a lot of guys don't care about that kind of thing, but I do, so I'm gonna fix it. It'll be something new. That's kind of one area I've been lacking in, just because I just didn't have the equipment and the right stuff to do it. So this will be kind of my first big paint. I've painted small models before, but nothing this big. So we'll see how that goes. I got to fix a flap issue, which should be fairly simple to do. The slat issue on one wing is really a huge issue and requires me to cut out the pin hinges in the slat and reglue / drill new holes. So that's going to be tough, and I'm not 100% on how I'm going to do that, but Dirk's getting me some new hinges. They basically put the last two, maybe three hinges, they're glued in too short, or yeah, it's basically too short. So when you try to push the wire through the wing, you get to the first two hinges, it goes through just fine, and then you get about halfway down and you have to force the slat up on the wing further than it's supposed to, and it basically bends the slat and binds it up to line up those last 2 or 3 holes. So I gotta pull those out and redo it, and that should be interesting. The other little thing I found was one of the flap gap covers on top of the wing. It's just a flat piece of material that's got looks like some type of either some type of it could be Kevlar hinge, where it's laminated into the wing, and then attached to the actual flap and the aileron with just a simple ball link. And what has happened is on one wing, same wing with the slat problem, is it fits flush at the beginning of that piece, and then as it moves down to the end of the wing, it has a twist to it. So it's flat, and then it starts to twist up, so it's got like a crow effect at the end, and it has almost an inch gap on the end of one of the wings. So that would be crazy. That's like having like a huge crow put in on one wing and not the other, because the other wing's fine. So I'll have to fix that. I'm thinking that maybe just laminating it with some resin and some carbon fiber with 2 pieces of something really flat like glass or something will fix it. What sucks is it's on the wing, and I can't get it off the wing unless I cut it off, and then I couldn't reattach it. So I have to do it with it on the wing. So that'll be a little challenging as well. But that's as far as of right now. That's pretty much the major issues I've had. And the canopy, I actually kind of like the system that they did. A lot of people don't like it, and they don't do it. But I've been able to do some simple mods and make it a lot more effective and safer. where it doesn't come open in flight. And that's kind of what the first video is going to be about. So I'm going to switch it from air to linear servos, these little actuator servos that I sell now. They're awesome. And the thing about this canopy, you have an open and close, and then you have a lock, but the lock's not your typical, you know, a lot of canopies will come down and you have two little air cylinders in the front of it with a hook. And once the canopy comes down, those air cylinders will pull the hook and it locks it in. This one doesn't have that. The canopy actually comes down and then slides forward. And you got these two little metal nipples at the end of the canopy that go into the front frame, right in that area right there, and hold it in. The problem with that is the ones that they put in, and because of the binding in the setup, you didn't even have like 1/8 of an inch of piece of metal that would go into it, and the front end where it goes into the frame has no support. It's just real thin fiberglass, and the holes are already walled out. So, and you could see that it wasn't fitting flush against that. So it could easily, just the pressures of flying, you know, the pressure building up in the cockpit would probably pull that thing up, that open. So I'm switching it over to electric and making a couple little mods, and made it a lot better. And I'm going to put new metal inserts at the end of the canopy, so there's no way they'll pull out. Plus, I'm also going to beef up the frame where the metal rods go into as well. So that'll be kind of the first video I'm going to do on the build, and I'll show you how everything works with that. I got to replace all the air cylinders. That sucks because those things are not cheap. I tried it on the Tomcat. I was like, well, it's a lot of money because it has a lot. This thing has like 9 gear doors, and then you count the 2 for the speed brakes and then the 2 for the canopy. That's a lot of money to replace. So I'm actually going to do electric on the canopy and electric on the speed brakes. I've kind of debated on the speed brakes. I may just not even use them, just glue them down or something, because they don't really get used at all. Yeah, so I got to pull all the air cylinders and replace those. The Skymaster ones, I've pulled them all before, pressure tested them, fixed the leaks, and within no time they're leaking again. So they're just not very good. So I don't recommend using them. Plus, I don't use their airline because it's a stiff kind of airline, so it gets very brittle really quick. And usually it doesn't bust, and you get a hole somewhere, it usually comes apart at the barb. That's been my experience, because the only place I really used it have used it is on the Viper jet on the brakes, and I've had 3 times now, within a few months of starting to fly it, that the barb, the location where the brake goes onto the barb, the brake line goes into the barb, just splits, and I lose all my air in the brakes. So I usually just replace all the airline. I don't know why I didn't on the brake. Probably because I didn't have any clear. So there we go. So I'll shut up. Next video, like I said, will be me kind of going to the cockpit and everything. So I'll show you what it's like stock, and then I'll show you what I'm doing to it as well, and of course the overall issue at the moment. Alright, you guys take it easy. It's kind of a long-winded, not much video, but stay tuned.